最初の事件こっちみんなと2番目の事件オトモレタンについては僕は直接関わっていない。だから保留にしておくとして、3番目の事件回転デッド、ここからが本題だ。
私と初めて会ったのもこの時でしたね。
ああ。で、あの事件で何か見落としがなかったかずっと考えてたんだけど、それほど重要じゃないと思って放っておいたことがあったんだ。覚えてないか、尾上。
I was trying to think like, and then I remembered I don't remember anything.
何？
One should be hidden camera. I don't even remember that being a thing. At least it didn't stop us with uniforms. The fact that we were even allowed in there was a bit weird. I mean, it seemed like more like we just got around them, and you know, police aren't perfect by any means, right? I don't even remember this. But this one I do remember, and it does seem a little weird, so I'll try that first at least.
そう、僕と尾上はラブホの中をこの制服で歩いてたんだ。普通なら補導されるだろ。
うん、確かにそうですね。
尾上がとっさにカップルのふりをしたからごまかしたと思ったけど、よく考えればやっぱり変だ。
Oh, okay, that does sound familiar in how it played out. Was Arimura there in a uniform too? I don't think we ever saw her at the place, but we know she was there. Did she have a uniform on? I mean, we don't have any reason to believe she was, but...
壁砲の制服は目立つ。警官が気づかないはずないんだ。なのに僕らはそのままスルーされた。あの時違和感を覚えたんだよ。
タクは考えすぎだと思うけど。
I mean, it is weird. It doesn't necessarily mean you can come to any conclusions from it, but still.
いや、今思えばあの警官、犯人に思考誘導されてたんじゃないだろうか。
I mean, oh yeah. You could definitely do little... Well... Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. You could probably do that much to just either make them not see us, or... Right? You couldn't make them kill themselves off that sort of thing, but...
思考誘導？何のためにです？
僕らを有村たちのいる殺人現場へ導くためとか。
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean... Oh, because they already had discovered the murder, why would he want to lead anyone to anyone else? I'm trying to think if there's any... I'm trying to think of all, like, the little hints that drop for, like, the text chain stuff.
だからなぜそんな必要が？
At what point would someone have been explicitly paying attention to us as a group, or Takeru as a person?
それはまだわからない。後でもう一度考えてみる。
Have we established the reason why people... microphone. If the ghost should show me a brutal murder scene and lead me to Arimura, then why?
その次の事件では、この学園でネット記者の渡部が殺された。
Also involved with us, but...
この事件にも見逃しているポイントがある。あの時はそれほど不思議だと思ってなかったけど、よく考えるとなんかおかしい。
おかしいって何が？
あの時、すでに渡部は有名なネット記者だった。それに比べて、こんなことは言いたくないけど、うちは有名でもなんでもない、ただの高校の新聞部だろ。なのに渡部の方から僕らとのディスカッションを申し込んできたんだ。
Right, because didn't we get the scoop on him for something? I thought he like came wanting to get like revenge or something. It's been a while. I'll make that excuse a lot in this current day.
それって宮代先輩たちの方が力士シールについての情報が早くて、でネットでパクリだって騒がれた渡部さんが慌ててごまかしに来たんじゃないんですか？
そうだったよね。
ほらな、やっぱり変だ。
Why?
なんで？
有村や尾上はそれほどヘビーなネットユーザーじゃないよな。
ええ、まあ普通かな。
そんな二人でさ今みたいに思ったんだろう。渡部が自分のパクリをごまかしに来たって。
Distract. Beat him to the punch. And then there's the whole fuss about plagiarism and he came to try to distract them from that. I mean, I don't think... I think he was trying to get his story... I'm trying... Distract. Man, I need to remember the specific details, but I don't remember it feeling like he was trying to distract from it. It seems like an interesting wording of it. Whatever I have banked in my memory, that doesn't entirely match up with the impression I got.
つまり僕らと対談なんかしても渡部の意図は見え見えで余計に炎上するだけだと思うんだ。メリットなんかどこにもないだろう。
ああ、確かに。
Well, the game says it's right, it's probably right, right?
その程度のことネット記者としてやってきた渡部に計算できないはずがない。
Someone as clever as him was capable of coming up with fresher information fast and changing the subject. Well, he's like an internet personality journalist, he was, right? So, I mean, covering what is the hot topic is still applicable, right? It's not like you just ignore it. I mean, I could just be remembering information wrong, but yeah, I'm probably just remembering information wrong. The internet was always hungry for new things to talk about. Give them a few big scoops and they'll forget all about it. That is true. It is a very common tactic for anyone under controversy to basically just wait it out. That's usually the actual legitimate tactic. That if you are someone famous in any form and you want to not be famous for a bad thing at that moment, just wait it out. The internet will move on, the news cycle will move on, everything will move on because life goes on. So I agree with that. If he was specifically trying to distract from it, then yes. I agree with the idea of him coming and drawing more attention to it would only fuel the fires of the controversy. I don't remember getting the impression he was trying to distract for it, probably because of the reason. Why would he come and do that for at the time? I think I had the impression more like he was bitter and he was trying to win. He wasn't trying to distract, he was trying to mold the narrative to what he wanted it to be. That's the impression I remember getting.
じゃあどういうことなの？タク。
これは僕の考えなんだけど。
I mean, neither of these seem likely. So, I guess.
そう、渡部自身すら気づいてなかったかもしれないけど、僕らに対談を申し込むよう思考を誘導されてたんじゃないかと思う。そしてみんなの注目を集めたところで殺された。
でも宮代先輩、ラブホの件もそうですけど、やっぱり動機が分かりません。犯人は何がしたかったんです？
Sorry, I forgot that I didn't plug my mouse into... I was checking old data and I plugged my mouse into a different thing. Sorry, their motive. Why would anyone want to do all this? I mean, I said before, my big... it's very weird. If they're... It's very weird. The one thing I can think of... So if we're trying to connect it to the previous one, that would be interesting to say... If the goal was to get us into the... If the goal was to get us into the room... The only thing I can think of, without getting into like some really, like vague speculation and sort of just spitballing random shit about like having a connection to Takeru and trying to involve him would be the possibility that they wanted people to realize the sumo sticker stuff. They wanted to make the sumo stickers a big hit that was a big internet sensation and everyone was aware of them in order to make them more likely to notice the sumo sticker stuff and basically go along with my the thing I mentioned before where maybe they're trying to spread everything via the sumo sticker, make more psychics so they can create a network that they can sort of tap into. So what you do first is like, hey, the police aren't paying attention to this fucking sticker, so we want to get... So the reason you'd get someone else in isn't because, hey, we want Takeru to see it. It's, hey, there's this other person trying to get a look at it. Let's get them in there. Maybe they'll notice the sumo sticker stuff, and maybe they'll actually make it... They'll naturally make this situation more significant. And then when the sumo sticker thing came out, and we actually had, like, we got on him, and then they just saw the opportunity, okay, let's escalate the situation, let's make him make bad decisions, and make him actually, like, go along with it in order to make it a bigger deal. That sort of thing. I could imagine that. That does seem feasible within, like, the concept of all this. Arimura was right. What was the point of making Watabe do that? What was their hidden goal?
わかった。この事件についてももう少し考えてみる。
Was he mind controlled?
ちなみに渡部の体内から出てきたシールはみんな偽物の力士シールだったことが分かってる。
どうして本物を使わなかったのかな？
The fake ones were ones that he made, right? Karmic Justice?
そりゃ多分犯人も能力者だからだろう。
The Sumo Sticker, aka the 11th Rorschach, had a terrible effect on the minds of psychics. Using real Sumo Stickers to kill Watabe would pose a serious threat to them as well. Fair.
犯行現場で犯人自身が誤って精神汚染を受けたりすれば、僕や有村と同じように身動きが取れなくなってしまう。そうなったら逃げることができなくなるからな。
I will say, I wouldn't buy... At this point, I wouldn't feel like it would be a satisfying answer to say, like, there's some secret connection to Takeru. Especially after they had that sort of, like, fake-out thing with, Ito. Where it was just like, oh, you knew Senri. Senri's mad at you. Yada, yada, yada. It sounds like... It makes me feel as though it's more of a fake-out reveal, like, no, not really that. It's more just this other thing that you happen to get wrapped up in, but we'll fake you out with that sort of reveal. That's, like, clearly not the case. And it would be weird if they came back to it, basically, after making that sort of fake-out reveal.
確かにあのシールを見るとタクひどいことになるもんね。
Arimura nodded several times, frowning.
本当に嫌ですよね、あれ。なんていうのか、悪夢みたいな妄想がどんどん心の中に広がってきて、そのうちそれが妄想なのか現実なのか分かんなくなって。
そうだな。あの夜のことを覚えてるか、有村。
あの夜？
僕と有村がパイロキネシストハイダリコに襲われた時のことだ。
Oh, and how she like saw us and was like, oh yes, it's you. Ah, rubble.
あの夜は尾上もいたよな。確かお前が僕のトレーラーハウスに来て。
Right, and are you gonna refer to the fact that like she came out and it's like, oh yeah, I recognize you, I'm gonna kill you? If I remember correctly, isn't that like the weird thing about how that played out? I think I remember thinking that was weird at the time.
のんちゃんの話を聞いてあげてってお願いした時だよね。でも私タクにそれだけ伝えて家に帰っちゃったからな。その後のことは。
そうか。でも家への帰り道何かに気づかなかったか？
何かって？
Did you notice the pyrokinetic ambushed me at the park? I mean, while that is true, more sumo stickers seem to be the thing going around on this, right? Though we also seem to establish that they don't seem to be actually working with the sumo stickers like... Well, they might have been. Was the park sealed off by... Like, are some of these, like, wrong? Because I don't remember that in the slightest, right? But that does seem like the most, like, notable thing. Where the park... If the park's sealed off, that could be something specifically set up in order to, try to direct people to walk in a certain direction in order to meet another group. That's where I would go with this. Oh, okay. Thank you for giving me something that didn't even happen. I was just... Okay. Maybe? I don't remember... I remember us being in a not park-like place at the time.
確かになんかあっちこっちベタベタ貼ってあったね。
I was trying to be clever with this thing I didn't remember. I was like, did that happen? I don't remember.
ああ、僕はクルスに会おうと思ってアーバ寮へ向かったんだ。ところが公園や街中の歴史シールの数がいきなり増えてた。しかも本物のシール、11番目のロールシャッハが。そのせいで僕は精神を完全に侵食されそうになった。
Arimura seemed to remember what had happened. She gave a little scream and hugged herself tight. This would also mean that the pyro girl would have been also one to have been influenced by that.
あの時期はいろんなテレビ番組やネットで力士シールが話題になってたんですよ。そのせいでどんな恐ろしいものか知らないバカな連中が面白がって張りまくってたんです。迷惑な話です。
Was that assumption? Was that an assumption? It could have been.
いや、よく考えてみるとネットやテレビのせいじゃないような気がするんだ。
I mean, you probably could, but that would be removing any possibility for, like, you know, intention. You could not definitively blame them at the very least. I think that's more the point.
どういうこと？
No strong evidence for that specifically. I faced the rest of the group and chose my next words carefully as I tried to figure this out for myself.
あの夜もそうだけど、僕はネットニュースやテレビが力士シールを話題にするたびにずっとチェックをしてきた。でもニュースで扱っているのはどれも偽のシールばかりだったんだ。本物の。
That's an interesting point. So the news stories were all about the fake ones, which means anything that popped up, like she would have heard about, like, oh, some random people threw a bunch up. It would have been referring to a different set of stickers, at the very least.
つまり、テレビやネットのシールを真似て喜んでいるような連中は、実は本物がどんなデザインなのか知らないんだよ。
Okay, that's you.
そ
んな連中の作ったシールなんて、いくら大量に貼ってあっても怖くもなんともないだろう。
じゃあ、どうしてあの夜は？
True, it would be a very big and probably very unlikely coincidence for them to have simply guessed the right formation. Because there's a chance they'd make him and just make them slightly differently than exactly what they saw on the TV, right? Like if people were doing it like that. But the chances of them like making it just like sort of differently because they didn't really remember it properly and then also getting the right one and throwing a bunch of them up is...
おそらく真犯人がやったんだ。自分も精神汚染されるかもしれないのに、そのリスクを冒してまで本物のシールを貼って回った。その目的はおそらく。
I mean, if it was to seal off the park, I was thinking like lead it, but it would be difficult to lead someone. Oh, yeah, you could seal off areas by making it very difficult to go in certain directions. I could see that. Yeah, you know what? That's even better than sealing, right? You know, cops probably would still be better, but still.
あの夜、 僕らはひたすらシールから逃げ回って。
行き着いた先にあのハイダリコって人が現れた。なるほど、そうですね。
つまり犯人はシールを使ってハイダリコが待ち受けている場所へ僕らを誘導したんだ。そしてハイダリコは僕らを襲ってきた。
でも考えてみるとあの人も伊藤先輩と同じだったんですね。思考を操られて犯人役をやらされただけ。かわいそうだね。
ああ、僕らは真犯人に完全にはめられて彼女を南沢千里だと思い込んでしまった。
The killer even went through the trouble of preparing fake evidence. But why? Why that level of it? Like, if they're just trying to lead us into, hey, get killed, I could sort of see that. But, I mean, if they just wanted us dead, they would have done that a long time ago.
証拠か。僕たちがハイダリコを南沢千里だと完全に信じ込んでしまったのは。
I didn't review that last half hour nearly as much coming back to it, but at the same time, I feel like there was some elements of it where... there was some elements of all of it where... Like, all the text we've seen, like, across, where we saw it just, like, pop up in between chapters were, like, legitimately... Like, they were the Ito things, like him being fucked with across the course of the story or something like that. I think that was it. Her old pic looked like her. I don't... The reason we believed it. Okay, yeah, the ID card, right?
Minamisa Senriの ID カード。あれには完全に騙された。
Right. And because it was the cops that showed up with that, wasn't it? Like she died and didn't they find... Oh, when exactly did they find that?
でもなんで彼女があのカードを持ってたんでしょうね。
その理由が全くわからない。完全に謎のままだ。
Well, I could throw a few I could throw a few Hail Mary ideas. Someone gave it to her that might have been the killer in question in order to create the scenario in question. She was part of the stuff that Senri was a part of before, and she got it just by association with her at the time. Etc, etc, etc. Just stuff like that.
思うんですけど、やっぱり本物の南沢千里が生きててハイダリコに罪をかぶせようとしたんじゃ。
Interesting. What do we know about her background? I think it was class president Guru, who I am blanking on the name of now. No, I think I'm remembering that the No nickname, I think. Or was it No? Nah, ignore me. She was like really insistent she was dead, and it was like a matter of like emotional turmoil. So it's possible. So if we're gonna think about this from like a thematic level of stuff, a lot of the like story here feels like, from a story thematic level, it feels like a lot of the story, and I am sort of going out on a limb here because I'm also basing this on very vague memories. It does feel like a lot of the thematic elements of the stories is based around generational stuff. Part of why I think it's called Chaos Child is how the effects of previous events could create fallout for people that came after, right? And this, then you sort of create the story of the people who came after, and that would be the Chaos Child, the child of chaos, right? Okay, the chaos happened, and then you have the child and the results of it, the drama that comes of that. So it would not surprise me if the ultimate mastermind villain of all this is basically maybe a person or a group of people that were basically impacted and the remnants of what happened previously, having gained enough know-how and power to basically go underground and try to set up some sort of maybe revenge plot or something like that on the world. I could certainly see that, and it would be an interesting direction for it to go. I have no idea if it's going to go that direction, but still.
でもクルスはそんなことありえないってずっと言ってる。
I mean, impossible, no. Because she didn't see her die, right?
クルス先輩は南沢千里をかばってるだけだと思います。下手をすれば共犯かもしれませんよ。
What? Wait. That is a fucking stretch.
お前、言っていいことと悪いことがあるぞ。
That is a fucking We've seen her by her. Okay, so let's think about this from the omniscient view of the viewer of the story at the moment. We have seen her by herself, not through Takara's view, explicitly think that she's dead and go to the site and that sort of thing, haven't we? So from a pure us perspective, we know that she's not faking it, at the very least. I'm not going to rule out the possibility that the Senri's alive in some form. That feels like a very realistic potential thing if she's underground trying to manipulate things. That is a legitimate thing to throw out. I think there are two reasons Arimura might say this. She's fucking, like, part of this manipulation attempt. And as much as, like, I feel like she's a red herring, she feels like she's a red herring because she's been suspicious the entire, like, game, right? So I don't think that. I think it's more likely she's saying this because she just is desperate. Is trying to explain things. But let's see what the next line says. I almost screamed at Arimura. Was she trying to tell me that Kurusu worked with the killer to do that to Yui? Oh, I didn't even think of it from that perspective. But Katsuki grabbed my shirt and stopped me. She shook her head as if telling me to calm down.
たく、怒鳴らないで。怖いよ。
悪い。有村もすまなかった。
I mean...
いえ、こっちこそ軽はずみでした。でも、宮代先輩、疑うのであれば全てを疑ってみるべきです。以前クルス先輩が私の前で嘘をついたの覚えてますよね。
I do not, for reasons unrelated to the story. Oh my goodness, I was thinking it was gonna like fade to a flashback. It's like, oh my goodness, the one time it would be really useful. She was right. Kurusu had insisted that Minamisawa Senri was dead. Okay. But she hadn't actually seen her die.
もちろん私やセリ、花も例外じゃないですよ。
Okay, I have not heard anything to make me feel as though that's a lie, though. She insisted she was dead out of an emotional need to feel as though she had moved on from it, and like her emotional baggage required her to think, yes, she died, because if she didn't die, then what was all that fucking for? That is the impression I remember getting. So I guess again, I'm speaking out of this from vague memories of a year ago. And I feel like I'm gonna have to throw that disclaimer there for the rest of the game, but still.
そんなこと言い出したら誰も信用できないじゃないか。
伊藤先輩の事件を考えれば、そのくらい用心した方がいいという話です。
Well, that is fair. It isn't even that. Okay, so if you want to claim that I can't trust someone on the basis of what Ito did, you need to claim it not on the basis of motivations and actually working behind the scenes, but you have to introduce the idea that anyone could be brainwashed in some form, to be acting very just slightly differently than they would normally. How many things could just be slightly moved here and there? Things are phrased slightly differently. Maybe, Arimura, you are currently suggesting this on the basis of someone is like brainwashing you ever so slightly or mind controlling you ever so slightly into trying to create distrust within this group to fracture us as a group and make us much less efficient at doing anything in terms of figuring out what's happening. it is sort of a fucking rabbit hole that is probably not a good idea to go down in terms of how to think about it.
私、結構好きだったんですよ、伊藤先輩。もちろんラブとかじゃないですけど、あんなに言葉がまっすぐで、裏表がなくて、たとえ嘘をついてもバレバレで、その嘘だって誰かを傷つけるような悪い嘘じゃなかったし、すごくいい人だなって感じてました。だから、今初めて思ってます。自分の能力をもっとちゃんと使えばよかったって。
有村。
ひなちゃん。
Oh, right. She has a lie detector power. I forgot about that.
これまで私ずっと後悔してたんです。こんな能力が欲しいなんて思ってしまったこと。結局人の言葉の裏表なんて知らない方が幸せだったから。でも今はもっと後悔してます。私が能力をちゃんと活かしていれば、多分伊藤先輩の言葉がどこかおかしいことに気づくことができたはずです。そうしたらゆいさんだってあんなことには。
Could you get mind control into, like, interpreting what your power is saying incorrectly? Could someone lie to you and then you also get mind control into just thinking, oh, they're telling the truth when they're lying? Like I said, it's a fucking rabbit hole of, hey, if something could happen, anything could happen, right? Arimura had such a sad look in her eyes. Yeah, I like, out of every single character in this entire game, she feels like the least likely to be like an active long-term antagonist, like twist antagonist, right? I would be more willing to bet on like Serika over there, because Arimura has been set up as a red herring, and it feels like the game, from a narrative perspective, is trying to tell me, be a little suspicious, but then you get to see a little bit below the surface and be like, well, now you looked a little deeper, and now you know better.
いや、違う。有村のせいじゃない。
I sighed a little and moved away from the map.
そろそろ昼休みも終わりだ。このくらいにしとこう。あと、しばらく新聞部の活動は休止にする。涌井先生にそう言われてるし、放課後も集まらなくていいから。
そっか。仕方ないですね。
あ、でも和樹は別に演奏とかプレイしに来ても構わないからな。部室の鍵はいつでも開けとく。
I forced myself to smile, but Kazuki softly lowered her eyes as if to say no. Oh, what are you saying? You have another computer? She probably has another computer. The sun set early in late autumn. Just like I said over lunch, there's no club meeting that day. I had a short conversation with Serika, and then headed straight for the Alba dorm. How is little brother kid doing, who I also start with a U, I thought, but even so, it was already starting to get dark, and it was easy to imagine some hidden attacker lurking in the shadows. But there's more than just fear inside me now. Of course, I was afraid of the murderer. I was afraid of being killed in some horrible way and dying in incredible pain. But I could also feel black rage rearing its ugly head inside me. You're going to pay for what you did to Yui. Whoever the fuck you are, I will find you and I will tear you into tiny, bloody little shreds. Those feelings grew inside me with each passing moment.
ああ、君、宮代拓君だね。悪いけど、ちょっと話を聞かせてくれないかな。
君が第一発見者なんだよね。最初に見たとき、どんな気持ちだった？
The media was so camped out around Aoba dorm. Actually, because of what happened to Yui, there were more of them than ever. Now that we were victims in their minds, that made them our self-appointed heroic defenders. They'd got even more bold.
犯人は君の親友だって噂だけど、本当なの？
すごいショックだよね。どうやって謝罪してほしい？
友達はなんでこんなことをしたと思う？何か悩んでいたとか心当たりはないかな？
Yeah, that's definitely paparazzi-esque questions.
うるさい。お前ら全員ユイと同じにしてやろうか。
Several of the lights the reporters holding shattered at the same time. What? Uh-oh. Careful. Careful, careful, careful. Don't draw undue attention on that front. Then I suddenly came back to my senses. Shocked at the strong impulse I'd felt at the eerie light the D's sword was giving off.
今日はまだ11月2日。問題の日は明後日だ。それまでは大丈夫。何も起こらない。何も。
I pushed my way past the media and ran inside the dorm, repeating those words as if they were a magic spell.
ただいま。
I tried to calm myself down and act like nothing had happened. If Yudo, okay, remembering his name, heard me yelling, it would wake him up.
おかえりなさい。タックルさん。
Oh, right, she's here. That probably helps a lot in terms of, helping Yudo at the very least. I saw tiny little Yuki, peeking at me from the kitchen. We still weren't used to calling each other by our first names.
晩ご飯もうすぐできますから。
ありがとう。
None of us, including Dad, really wanted to eat anything, but she made dinner every night anyways. That was probably her own way of struggling against the sadness, I thought.
父さんとクリスは？
先生は警察です。ゆいさんのことで。
そっか。
ののさんは診察室でゆうとくんの看病を。
うん。なあ、ウキ。
はい。
今日はまだいいけど、明後日、11月4日は、そうやって一人になっちゃ絶対にダメだ。みんなと一緒にいること。あと、誰に誘われても、絶対に外へ出ないこと。いいな。
それはタクルさんでもですか？
ああ、そうだ。誰も信用しちゃダメだ。
I remembered what Arimura had said, and my heart ached a little. Yuki mumbled to herself for a moment, seemingly considering my words. Then she nodded.
ちょっとユウトの様子を見てくる。
じゃあ、ののさんにもご飯だって伝えてください。ゆうとくんのお世話は私が交代しますから。
わかった。
Oh, what was Yudo's condition? Is he, well, the fact that I could wake him up means that he's not, like, comatose or anything, right? I just don't remember what might have happened outside of just, like, the sadness of what the fuck just happened. I left the dining room and quietly went down the stairs to the clinic. When I opened the door, Yudo was lying in the bed and looking up at the ceiling. He was showing more emotion than he had been right after it happened, and he would answer only when you spoke to him now. But he was being given strong psychotropics, spent most of his time asleep, or barely alert.
ユウト。
ああ、おかえりなさい。
どうだ、具合は。
うん、よくなったよ。もう平気。
No, you don't need to pretend. He forced himself to smile, probably because he didn't want to worry me. Yeah, it's a tricky... It's never easy, is it? But the muscles that controlled his face weren't looking the way he wanted yet, and looked more like he was about to cry.
クルスは？
I looked around and didn't see her near the bed.
あっち。今眠ってるから、そっとしておいてあげて。
I found her at the desk where Dad kept his work computer. She was face down on the desk, her long hair covering the top half of her body. Her breathing was gentle and rhythmic. The computer was still on. She must have fallen asleep while working on it.
のの姉ちゃん、あんまり寝てないみたいなんだ。
僕の世話だけじゃなくて、生徒会のお仕事とかいっぱいあるみたいで、ずっとパソコンに向かってるし。僕ならもう大丈夫って言ってるのに。
大丈夫かどうか診断するのは父さんだろ。
そうだけど。
お前はあんまり難しいこと考えるなよ。早く元気になれって。
Okay, so if we're talking about, okay, this just reminds me. If I was going to put my list of people that I trust less, it would probably be. Honestly, there's only 2 people that actually fall in that list of like people that I could realistically imagine some twist about like actually whether I should trust them or not. Like from a non-Ito type way where it isn't like he's being manipulated into it in some fashion. Basically, as I said before, Sarika sort of just out of a, like, she seems nice, but I never feel like I've gotten, like, below the hood of, like, what makes her tick. Outside of, like, a general, very vague speculation. I guess I don't feel like, and again, vague memories, and I could be completely wrong about this. I don't remember ever feeling like I've ever seen her truly vulnerable. Like, truly, like, in the way we're looking at Yudo right now. Where you could sort of feel like, yeah, you can feel what the motivation is for their actions here. And it's consistent with something that you can sense sincerity in. Sarika and their father, their adoptive father, he would be the only other person I could imagine. Those 2 are the only 2 that I could imagine at this point. Of characters I remember, because there might be characters I'm not remembering. It's been a while. Neither of us would bring up Yui. We promised to, we probably have to wait until Yuta was a lot more grown up. I tapped him on the shoulder, then grabbed the blanket off the other bed and softly walked over to Kurisu. Even with the heater on, I figured she might catch a cold if she slept in a place like this. But I froze when I saw what was on the computer screen. It was displaying several sites that dealt with the return of the new gen madness. And at the very front of the video. And at the very front was the video from Don't Look. Sorry, I was just... sorry, I have my setup here like a bit different than I used to. So I'm actually like looking in a bit of a different direction than I normally would when I've recorded this in the past. So my eyes sort of drifted over, and the very first thing I saw was the Hatsune Miku sumo sticker, and... yeah, I don't think that was the impression they first wanted me to get from this. Okay, I'm going to assume she's obsessed with the situation in a similar way that Takeru is, and is investigating it on her own merits. And this is the... it does sort of, like, immediately throw the idea in my head, like, oh, is this suspicious? She's behaving in a way I didn't expect, so that sort of thing. But I could see... it doesn't quite pull me in that direction, at least. It was paused right at the moment where the victim realized he'd sliced up his own arm and passed out in a puddle of blood, tears, and drool. Yep. There is a newly bought notebook next to her filled with the words in her pretty handwriting. Some of it was names, location, and times that overlap with what we had on the map in the clubroom wall. Mikurisu had made several sharp insights on her own. Okay, so it is exactly that. I should probably wait like 2 more lines before like coming to like, is the game wanting me to be suspicious of her? For example, Incident 2. Why did the victim put on makeup for her last street performance? The mind controller is male. He didn't consider that a girl would need to put on makeup. That's fair. Senri's ID card. No one but me knew that I buried it under the memorial in remembrance of her. The killer had to read my mind to dig it up. The killers can read minds. Which means there are 2 killers. One that can read minds and one who can control minds. Supports Takeru's multiple killers theory. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be based solely on, I think it was... oh, I don't even remember the full name, but I think like the group that did like the mod for this that I like installed a patch of And there's actually an update before I started playing this game. Apparently there have been 2 updates since I last played. It's Council of something, I thought. I think the mod group's name is Council of something. So I'm going to be very open that I have sort of that in the back of my mind, and I almost wonder if that's going to come up as who we're dealing with is some group that calls them Council. And that would lead into the multiple killers theory part of it. There's page after page of it. Okay, that is a lot of information. We should talk about this.
この短期間でよくこれだけ。でも何のために？
She must have sensed that I was staring at her because she moved a little. Her almond-shaped eyes slowly opened and she blinked several times. And then she raised her head and looked at me.
ああ、なんだ、タクルか。おかえりなさい。
ただいま。ほら、毛布。風邪ひくぞ。
やだ、私居眠りしちゃってたのね。ありが。
And then she seemed to realize her mistake. She quickly reached out her hand to turn off the computer monitor. I grabbed it.
ね、タクル、これは。
I refused to let go of her hand. So is she purposely trying to keep me out of it?
一体何なの、タクル。
それはこっちのセリフだ。さっきのあれが生徒会の仕事だっていうのか。
Kurusu flinched a little. It was the exact opposite of how things usually went between us. It was always me who did the flinching.
そうだけど。
そんなわけあるかよ。
I mean, at least think of a believable line instead of just whatever I, gave you, at the time.
痛いから、いい加減手離して。
But I kept holding on and glaring at her for a while. At first she squirmed a little, but eventually her naturally strong will won out, and she glared right back at me. I don't know how long we stayed like that, but surprisingly, it was Kurusu who gave up first. She silently put her other hand on top of mine.
ごめんなさい。だから、話して。
I relaxed my grip a little and shook her hand away.
なんで一人であんなことしてんだよ。まさか自分一人だけで真犯人を探そうなんて思ってないよな。誰も巻き込まないようにとか。
それは。
僕が同じようなことをしたら怒るくせに自分はいいのかよ。
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It does seem to add up with their reactions.
自分はいいのかよ。もしも犯人に目をつけられてユイみたいにされたらどうするんだ。そんなの冗談じゃない。
タクル。
Kurusu fell silent for a second after I spat out the words. And then she started to talk, hesitantly, as if she was uncertain of how to say what she was thinking.
前にタクルが言ってたでしょ。事件が自分のことを追いかけてきてるみたいだって。
あ
あ。Yeah. I don't think it's specifically pursuing him because he's him, but I think he sort of walked himself into a role that was opened up for anyone that could potentially fit the needs of the role. That's where I'm at in terms of that.
私もそうなの。この事件に千里が関わってるって知った時から、私はいつも彼女に追われてる。
Senri? Minamisawa Senri? What does she mean by that? Didn't she say that Senri died in the Shibuya Earthquake? I do think she means metaphorically. But I guess then that was a lie? And Senri was after not only me, but Kurusu? Kurusu must have sensed my confusion because she shook her head.
千里は地震で死んだわ。それは間違いない。私を追いかけてくるのは、なんて言ったらいいのかな。彼女の亡霊なの。
Huh?
My mouth hung open as I struggled to understand what she just said. I never imagined she'd use an unscientific word like ghost. I also think she's using it metaphorically.
なんだよそれ。意味がわからない。
ごめんなさい。今はまだこれしか言えないの。話す勇気が出ないから。
Which also makes me feel as though she's using it metaphorically because it's an emotional baggage issue, basically, right? Her face twisted in sorrow.
そうか。クルスにはまだたくさん僕に言えないことがあるんだな。
By the time I realized what I'd said, it was too late. The pain in my heart had come back, and the words had slipped out of my mouth. Even after I swore that I was never going to say those words to her again. Just like I expected, she looked even more sad.
クルス、違うんだ。今のは本心じゃない。
けど
前にも言っただろ。今の僕はもう昔とは違うって。それに僕はちゃんと今ここにいるじゃないか。まだ怒ってたり嫌ってたりしたら戻ってくるはずがない。
Everyone fights with their demons. Those flaws in us, those things we try to be better at, never truly go away, right? It's more the matter of how well we get at fighting them and resisting them and making them a more minor element of ourselves rather than something that will define our choices and stuff. But acting like they go away, that you truly ever 100% grew past them, is a way that to let them just slip up and become a major thing again, right? Because that's basically letting your guard down. It's always interesting when you see like sequel stories and stuff, and then people complain, oh, this person's dealing with the same arc they already dealt with in the first story, and then you just think like, oh yeah, those insecurities, those like those shit that like defines you, like you did them for a reason, they were a part of you, right? And then just exactly what I said, they never truly go away. It's just a matter of how well you grow to deal with them, to cope with those things, right? Kurusu sat down on the bed, exhausted. I suddenly realized that Yudo had left. It was dinner time after all, and he'd probably thought the two of us wanted to be alone. There was a long, long silence after that. Neither Kurusu nor I said a word. We just stared at different spots in the room. And eventually, Kurusu started to talk.
いつかタクルにだけは私が言えないでいること、何もかも全部話したいと思ってる。そのせいでまた嫌われちゃうかもしれないけど、それでも構わない。その時はちゃんと最後まで聞いてくれる？
あ
りがとう。
And finally, she smiled. It was a weak smile, which looked as though it could fade at any second.
ねえ、タクル。覚えてる？地震の後、昏睡から目を覚ました日のこと。
あの時は頭がぼーっとしてて、でも最初に見たのがクルスの泣き顔だったことだけははっきり覚えてるよ。
そう。
今考えると不思議だな。お前なんで泣いてたんだ？
嬉しかったからよ。目を覚ましてくれて。
どうして？あの時の僕とクルスはまだ赤の他人だったろ。
タクルはそうだったかもしれないけど、私はタクルのことを1年以上ずっと面倒見てきたのよ。私にとっては大切な家族の一員になってたもの。
A fragile smile was still on her face.
だからお姉ちゃんはタクルのことなら何でも知ってるのよ。恥ずかしくて他の女の子には言えないようなことまで全部ね。
やめろよ。そういうこと言うのはなしって約束だろ。
そうだったわね。ごめん。もう言わない。
And then the silence returned. It was as if the two of us were trapped by memories of the past and had forgotten the time even existed.
あの、
And then time started to move again when we realized someone else is there.
そっか、晩ご飯ほったらかしだった。悪い。
いえ、すぐに温め直しますから。
How long have we been here?
ごめんね、ウキちゃん。
Uki may or may not have been able to tell what was going on between us, but she left for the upstairs without another word.
タクル、先に行ってて。
わかった。あ、クルス。
As she got up from her bed and headed to the dorm, I called out to her.
何？
Her soft chestnut hair flew upward as she spun around.
僕はさ。
As I looked into her beautifully colored eyes, I was finally able to say it.
もう家族の誰も失いたくないんだ。
How long had it been since I had called Kurusu part of my family? Her eyes went wide for a moment, and then suddenly she started to cry.
タクル。
だから本当に頼む。やめてくれ。一人で犯人探しなんて危険なこと。もしもお前まであんなことに言うみたいなことになったら。あれ、情けないな。泣くなよ。僕は情けない。
わかった。もうしない。だからお願い。タクルも約束して。私を残して行ってしまわないって。私を置いて消えてしまわないって。私耐えられない。こんなに悲しいの耐えきれない。
She probably didn't even know what she was doing. She ran up to me and buried her face in my chest. She wrapped her arms around me as if she refused to let me go. And she cried for a long, long time, calling out Yui's name in a tiny voice.
クルス。
Until now, I had always been bothered by the idea of a family. Thought it was just a heavy, annoying chain that kept me stuck in one place.
でもそうじゃなかった。
Dad, Yui, Yudo, Kurusu, and even Uki now. They were all part of my family. It's only then that it really hit me that Yui was gone forever. I'd held Kurusu's frail body tight and cried like a baby for a long, long time. And November 3rd. I will say this. This is actually probably... Okay, so a couple observations. It's coming back to this after having given myself a nice break from it, obviously. I will say, I am interested in... I feel like I'm resonating with the character stuff better. I feel like not having that burnout in my mind is making me not feel like it's not hitting as well as I used to feel. I do feel as though they do pace it a little slowly still. I will say that much. But I will say, again, It's just a thought I had going through my head just as I was watching and saying, huh. Because I remember, I have a more distinct memory of the, like, scenes about them having like these emotional moments together and feeling like, okay, and next, and it's like I get the setup that it did, but I sort of wanted to like just get to the next scene. Now that I didn't want to see it, I just hope it was like going like, okay, I get it, let's go to the next scene, that sort of stuff. And in this, I feel like I felt it a bit more than I feel like I have before, so I am wondering how much of that is the scene and how much of that is just like the lack of burnout on my mind, making me want to sort of just like, okay, get to the next thing, okay, I gotta do this, okay, why are you still going on this, why are you still going, like I said, it still feels like it drags a little bit, but yeah, no, I think that's pretty good. And the second thing is like another observation is I'm just remembering like when I was doing recording sessions before last year, and where like I said that I had like a half an hour recording session that like legitimately like legitimately I stopped after half an hour just because presumably I was just like, okay, I'm good, because it was a half an hour of it. It's like, okay, no, I enjoyed that, I'm good, I feel like moving on. And I've been going for hour 14 on this particular one, and if I include all the stuff about reviewing before, that was another 15 minutes, so I'm at about an hour and a half, and I don't feel like stopping, which is a good thing. It is very interesting, because as much as I try to not put it on the visual novel, there was an element of Chaos Child that, like, there was parts of it I was very distinctly enjoying. There's nothing inherently, like, problematic about it that I would say, like, is a problem with it. I just wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I should be. Or as I thought that, well, not should be, but I wasn't enjoying it as much as I felt I needed to really get me motivated to do it. And I'm enjoying it a lot more now, I think. I do think I am. I feel as though taking that time off is helped me. And who knows how long this will last. Maybe this is just a honeymoon phase about coming back, but hey, this is working a lot better for me at the moment. I'll just say that. It's a very long way of me saying I feel as though I'm in a much better place mentally playing these games for the channel now. So, yay! I hope it comes across in like how I'm approaching the game too, and commentary and like the little things that people enjoy for the videos as well. So, November 3rd.